The Angel's Song. There was a bright flicker, then darkness. Moments later, thunder rolled in the distance. Rain began to fall, pelting the small windows, softly at first, then stronger. But the coming storm went unheeded as Heinrich von Engel leaned over his desk, writing furiously. He was oblivious to anything besides his own thoughts, his pen, and the paper in front of him. Shadows danced around the room. Only a small candle on the desk provided any light, slowly moving about as the howling wind outside slipped in under the door. It was the third candle that evening. Now it, too, ran out. Total darkness seized the room. Heinrich grunted with frustration, as he was in the middle of a sentence and did not want to lose his thought. However, he got up and went to the drawer where he kept the candles. He found a match and lit the new candle, which began to burn brightly. It would be enough for what he wanted to say this night. This was not Heinrich's first late-night writing, and he was very tired. But he was determined to get his thoughts down on paper before any escaped. He had many thoughts. Not that many people would read his ideas. Of all his students and colleagues at the university, only a few of his closest friends had ever shown any true understanding or appreciation for his work. Of course, his writings were unorthodox among the people. No matter. Some day he would be famous for his genius, even if he was misunderstood now. However, that misunderstanding came with a price. Heinrich had almost no one whom he called a true friend. He was very often alone. Ill health had caused him to quit teaching some time ago, but he had made enough money to live on comfortably for some time. Yet, other than his servant, many days passed with no human contact. But he needed the silence. He could never write his books if others distracted him. Further, he had become so accustomed to living this way that it rarely troubled him. The furious scratching of Heinrich's pen paused. He had finished the chapter. He remained motionless at his desk for a moment to think carefully about how to begin the next section. Again, lightning flashed outside, briefly illuminating the small room, then dropping it back into shadows. The thunder came a little sooner this time. The storm was getting closer. Heinrich rubbed his eyes in fatigue and looked around. His bed, a small dresser, a bedside table, and several bookshelves, lined with books, were his only furniture. However, there were several portraits on the walls of his heroes, men who had inspired him to think great ideas. Yet Heinrich had the strange impression that they were staring at him now, threatening him, as if to warn him not to finish his book. He ignored the feeling. He ran his hands through his hair, returned to the paper on his desk, and began to write again. Certainly, this would be his best work yet. This is what he wrote. Modern man, he thinks he knows, but we know that most men know nothing. Socrates showed us this many years ago. For if they do not know what they mean when they say good or bad, how can they know when they speak of gods? Show me a man who knows what he says, and I will show you many wonders, the wonders of a man who has grown up. Modern man, he is a relic of an ancient time, when man in his childhood told myths to explain his world. But now we have grown up. We are creatures of reason. We who have grown up, we know that Apollo does not dwell in the sun. Surely Zeus does not still throw the thunderbolt upon Olympus? Do I invoke the Muses in my work? No, no, 1,000 times no. Now the light of science gives us light to see by. Now we can see how God has spoken in the past, like a child who once pretended that his toys spoke to him. But now he understands their inner workings. Modern man, he is a contradiction. Can I count the ways to show the futility of his beliefs? He says, "Oh my God," every day, but does not know the word piety. He builds churches on every street corner, but for what? The more churches, the more hypocrisy. They build them because that is where God dwells. Of course, they cannot find God anywhere else, so they must build him a home. Perhaps he wanders like an orphan. No, these people, like children, play make-believe. A child believes in fairies. Grown men believe in God. No, these churches are but our childlike imagination, museums for our children. Yes, even I adore the great art in the old cathedrals. But does God paint too? No, only man. Praise the greatness of man. And if this were not enough, these shepherds, these leaders of the flock as they call themselves, they only deceive. They only wish for power. They could not have the power to rule over nations, so they seized power over their flocks. But beware, little flock, for without their power these men are wolves, and would gladly devour you. I had a vision of God, they say. Yes, they had a vision, and God spoke. He told them, "Go amongst my people and tell them lies. I do not wish them yet to be full grown." These shepherds pride themselves on saving lives, but they are murderers. These murderers, for that is who they are, bringing death rather than life, they tell their followers about a better life, a life to come. But the only better life they care about is their own, and that is now. For a man who wishes only for a better life will languish in this one. He will die inside. He is like a child who cannot wait to grow up, but when he does, he laments that he has lost his childhood. Such are they who hope for another life. No, the grown man knows that his life is now, and he must live it dangerously. Modern man, he says that it is noble to renounce marriage for God. But I have heard many whispers. I have seen the pigeons in flight. These men cannot conquer their passions. No, they are like children who see the glory of a king and declare that some day they, too, shall be kings. But they grow up, and the king's men trample them in their poverty. Thus is the man who would conquer his passions. Such men have only heard their shepherd's words, but know nothing of sheep. The truth is painfully clear. Nature wishes to perpetuate herself, and she will be obeyed. Man is a slave to begetting. He can no more cease to beget than he can cease to think, for thinking is begetting of the mind, as union with a woman that of the body. Only a dead man does not beget. The force of nature is a mystery, the clearest mystery I have ever known. Modern man, he preaches the value of life while he teaches death. He says, "All men are equal in God's eyes. Therefore, let us love all men as brothers." Then he speaks thus to himself, "I rejoice that I was not born as one of them." Yes, all men have worth, as slaves to those more powerful than them. Who will not weep at the death of a mother, a brother, or a close friend? But who weeps for those they have never known? I shed no tears when a lion kills a man in the heart of Africa, or when a great storm drowns many on some far-off coast. Nature did not favor them, but she has favored me. Why should I question her judgment? Yes, life has great value. To the one speaking those words, truly, my life has great value. Who, then, has life? None but the strong. Only he who is strong lives as nature means him to. This is man at his greatest, a strong body and a sound mind. He needs no lies of a better world, only to live dangerously on the slopes of Mount Vesuvius. But the weak, the needy, the humble, these will not be blessed. These shepherds talk of care for the weak. No, the weak make the whole world weak. Pity, compassion, mercy. These are values of weakness and death. Such men are slaves, and willing slaves. Right and wrong, good and evil, they do not understand these words. I am strong, and so I have virtue. My neighbor is weak, and he does not. This is nature's first commandment, to love strength with all your heart. Am I not also a teacher? Have I not also been baptized? Do I not also have a divine task? Those who are my disciples, this teacher says, will gain passionate life. For I am the new way, my truth is the new truth, this life is indeed true life. No one comes to life but through my words. I am truly great. Yes, and more. I am full of pride, the pride of life. But blessed are the proud, for they shall live a true life. Heinrich looked up, exultant in his work. He was nearly to the end. Outside, the rain ran in streams down the mountain. The sky flashed, and thunder immediately shook the house. The storm was now very near. Heinrich returned to his pen, prepared for the final piece. He wrote, "Am I a madman? Do I ramble? Do I not speak truth? But wait, what is this? I was wrong. I hear it clearly, a voice comes to me from beyond the world. I hear angels singing, and they say, 'There is no doubt, no fog or mist, for by your words we don't exist.' Even angels rhyme. But let us no longer speak madness. We have grown up. We need no more hand to hold, for we can walk upright. We have no more need for churches, for God is no more. My house is a church, for there dwells a God, me. I have seen the coffin of God. It is his people. Let the true paradise draw near. It is dark, but I am not afraid. I need no superior mind, for am I not greater than—" Just at that moment, lightning struck a tall tree outside of Heinrich's house. The tree burst into flames, despite the rain. The thunder was tremendous, shaking the small house. Then the wind blew violently, and the tree came up by its roots. It fell with a great crash into Heinrich's bedroom. His desk was split in two, and the fire spread quickly through the wooden house, lighting up the moonless night. They looked down in pity and sorrow. Why must man rebel against God? Why does he hate him so? In heaven, Ithiel looked at his companions with sadness on his face, then turned and exclaimed, "Just and true are your judgments, O God! Great and merciful are your ways. Though you wish none to perish, you will not suffer man's insolence forever. You are not deceived, for you know the hearts of men, and you know that they are wicked. Who among the wise will not fear you, O Lord? Who will not sing your praises for all eternity?" And when he had finished, he looked again towards the earth, and saw Heinrich's spirit leave his body. A deep blackness quickly surrounded it, and the shadows, clutching and grabbing, dragged his soul to hell.